How's it going, YouTube? Unknown Soldier coming here with one of the many late night shenanigans I normally do. So we're here with Sadie, the green 2000 SE, GT, whatever you want to call it. And I've just gotten in the new struts for the rear and wheel bearings. So we're going to be working on this, and this will be kind of cut up as I go along, but basically we have the tire off, as you can see. Jack is supported accordingly. Got the wheel under there too, just in case it slides. And up front, got it blocked off. It's very important when you're working on an incline or anywhere to make sure the car doesn't roll unexpectedly. It should be common sense, but in case no one's worked on it, like for instance, if I was working on the front of this car, I'd have to block it because the emergency brake doesn't work on this, and even then I wouldn't trust the emergency brake to catch the full weight of a car, even on a small incline like this. So basically, I got my tool bag I always carry around in my car. I've already took the wheel off, like I said. Got a headlamp and a DeWalt light there, and I got a cigar, nice Padron 1964, 6.5 by 66 ring, or 60 ring. And of course I'm armed because it's 12 o'clock at night and I don't want any rodents coming up here and biting me like a fox or a coyote or something. So it's important to always have something in range. So at the moment, I'll scoot up here. I'll try and keep this dang camera steady. As you can see, it looks like we're going to need pads. The rotor seems to be okay, so we'll leave it on there. I think I have some pads for it. But somewhere along the lines before I got this car, they broke one of the studs here. So I figure, well, if I can get it apart, I will replace it. So I ordered 2 wheel bearings for the rear. So we'll do that. I wish I had ordered a rear sway bar, but I have no way of doing that all at once. I don't have a jack stand on the other side, and I'm not going to go through the trouble tonight of doing it. But basically, this car has a nice case of worn out rear shocks, like I've mentioned time and time again. You'll hit a bump, the car will go whoa, whoa. So we're going to solve that, and soon enough, this car won't be a shitbox any longer. So for those wondering, the roof rack is still on there. For the gap issues, we're going to mill out the hole right there on that bolt, where I guess I should say the knob, where you twist it down. That way we have more clearance to go up, so it'll squeeze it to the door frame. So I will show that once we get that going, if not at least a final project. So, but currently I am working on getting the rear sway bar disconnected. So this is a 18 mil, and then behind it I think there's a wrench I got to put on there, if I remember correctly. I've done like 1,000 of these, but I'll probably keep these struts. I'm not going to say I'll ever rebuild them, but we'll go from there. So step 1, remove tire. Step 2, remove this and or this, depending on which way you want to go. All of it's coming out eventually, so we'll just deal with it as we go. Alright. Okay, quick update. We got the nut off. It's a little rusty, and I'll be honest, I'm kind of afraid the shock might blow apart when I try and take it apart, but such are the consequences of life. So, but the main thing is, even though this bolt, here, I'll grab it real quick. This bolt is an 18 mil, but on the back side, it's a 14 mil. You'll need an open socket wrench to get that, and that'll just hold it in place so the ball joint doesn't spin. So, there's that. I'm going to pull it out, and hopefully nothing goes bang in my face, which would not be good, but I got a cigar to make me feel better, so we'll see what happens. So yeah, and then it looks like we'll either, I might remove the brake caliper at this point if I want to do the wheel bearing, since it's still mounted to this, so we'll probably do that first. And as you can see, this is all bent out of shape, but I'm not sure if I can, pardon the jolts, I gotta get down on the ground here. Oh, I'm not sure if I can get these off by hand, but I will certainly try if I can. Knowing my luck, I'll get this side off, but not the side that's easier. But you can see the damage there, which is not good. And this car will definitely need an alignment after we're done. So yeah, both sides are like this. I don't know if you can see that one, but it's bent out of shape too. This one's by far the worst one. But yeah, I'm sorry for the sideways video. Well, it might not be sideways for you, but I'm laying sideways. So, and when I'm under here, like you can see, the rust is pretty, it's eating through. My foot's asleep, but this car's got at least another 5 years of life in her, I think. And just so you know, since I have a couple of these, all the parts I put on, in case this thing were to get in a wreck or something, I can always pull them back off. I'm not worried about that. So, but that's my use case. I don't know what yours is. If you only got the one, good for you. But while I'm under here, I'm looking at brake lines, and you got your snub. Those are important. Those are very important for braking, apparently. Supposedly, those basically hold back the pressure, so your front brakes lock up first instead of your rear brakes. So, go figure. Alright, that's the quick update and moving camera stuff. So, well, you know what? I'm just going to do this on camera. If I'm going to die, I want to do it right here, right now. Just kidding. I'll let you know how it goes. Alright, so your caliper bolts are 14 mil. I've broken both of them loose, and I smashed my hand right there as usual, so it's going good. This time though I had gloves on, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. So I'm going to go ahead and pull both of these bolts and try and ease this caliper off there and get a C-clamp on there. Yep, I do. I got one right here. I always carry at least one of these to help persuade the piston and go back in. So I think the bleeder valve up there is an 8 or maybe a 10, somewhere in between there. And of course you couldn't see it because I had the camera down, but so we'll go from there. And I'll definitely comment on the pads, since this is a good time to get everything going. So heck yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, now that I've got it off, make sure you keep track of which bolts. The one with the little gap in it, or the ring around it, that one has come out at the top, and the other one has come out at the bottom. So as you can see, the C-clamps on there just to hold the piston back, just in case. So typically you want it in the middle, so that way you have even pressure. That way you don't jam it in there and break that little solenoid. But this will do. So I'm going to go ahead and find some wire to tie this off on, probably right up here. That way it holds it up out of the way. So, and then we'll get to looking at these. I guess we can do that while we're here. And they got a little bit of life left in them, but they might have to get replaced here. So I'm going to go ahead and set them down on my trusty duct tape. And it's always the back one that I can never get out. So you just wiggle these puppies free. And that one looks alright. That one's got a little more life in her than the other one. These don't squeal. That one actually has its little marker on it. So that's alright. And you can see, if I can get my light in there, probably not. Oh, that's alright. So there we are, setting the stage for getting this wheel hub off. Pardon me while I adjust myself. So yeah, next we'll take off this piece, which I think is, are they 14s as well? They might be 15s. You can see the bolt there and there maybe. So yeah, and then take a look at the sensor. Sensor looks okay. So, alright, now we're rolling. Oh, that looks like it's backed off a little bit down there. That's okay. Alright. That's typically how I do the caliper, hanging, but if you weren't replacing this, you could tie it off that with a clothes hanger or something. So I just use 2 zip ties. No big deal. So we'll get working on that. Alright, that's done. So you can see the 2 mounting points. Oop, if I can get my light in there. That's alright. So here's the bracket. Always put your bolts back where they came from if you can. So we're going to set that off to the side here. Those came free. I'd imagine the torque specs 90 to 100 pounds on all of this, just from speaking from experience, but you can certainly reference your technical manual. I will certainly try my best to put all of the torque specs for all of this in the comments, or not in the comments, in the description. That way, that's the hardest part for a lot of people, is trying to find torque specs. So now this should just come right off if no one is messed with it. So hang on, if you get a close up here. Sorry. Alright. There we go. Okay, so let's inspect the backside here. It's actually got a lot of life left in it, so that's good. No cracks that I can see. Let's give it a little. That's alright. Alright, I'd say this one's reusable. We'll definitely try and get some pads if we can, but that's alright. Can I set this where it won't? Aha! Right there. Alright, now exposed is the wheel bearing, and this is your emergency brake. So it's much like a drum. Do not reline. Sure, whatever. So now we have to, I'll be honest, I haven't really thought this through. So I think on the backside we got some bolts somewhere. But how does this come off? I hope I don't have to take the whole knuckle off. That would suck. But it's looking like I might have to. Okay, maybe we'll wait on the wheel bearings then. But they turn okay. So that's good. I figure try and do something nice. You know, you're down here anyway. But ooh, it's got a little bit of a bend in it. Can you see? If I hold it still enough, it's a little off center. That's okay. Like I said, this car's a beater car, so not a big deal. Sweet. So, I might have just taken that off for nothing, but I at least want to see how far I can get, so. If you can hear that, those are the coyotes. That's why I got a 45 on me. Just in case one of those packs decides they want to try it. So, God, I hope not. I don't fancy shooting something. Oh, it's nice to know I got company down here. So while we listen to that, I'm going to puff on my cigar. I'd say they're in the field across the road there, if I had to guess. That's what I mean. Out here in the country, you got to be able to be prepared. So, all right, we will leave it there. I'll be right back. All right, running into our first bit of trouble here. So the bottom lug, that right there is an 18. That one down there's a 15. This one up here is loose on a 19. This one's bigger than a 19. So, I can't tell you if that's standard or not. Okay. So, we've made some progress. This one is a, let me find my thing, a 13/16 bolt here, an 11/16 fit here just barely. And I want to reiterate, your bolt sizing and may differ. They may be the same across all of them. They may not. So I just want to give that heads up. For me, on this car specifically, 13/16, 11/16, 18 mil, and down here, 15 mil. So, and they fought. You can use impact tools if you want to. I am not, because I am trying. It's 1 in the morning here now, but got them off. Use some penetrating oil if you got it. Spray it in there before you start, and every once in a while as you're tightening them off, spray a little more in there. If you have to, as you're pulling off, put it back on a little bit, spray it, pull it back off. You'll work it off eventually, whether you got an impact or whether you're doing it with hand tools like me. So I also kind of like doing it with hand tools because it helps build my muscle up. So, and I enjoy suffering, I guess. So that's where we're at. These are pretty loose in here. At least the top one was till I took the bottom one off. So what you want to do now is gently, and without messing up the threads, if you want to reuse these bolts, is pop them out. And as you're going through, put a, what do you call that? Let me see if I got one here. I should. One of these. One of these that fits. It'll come to me eventually. God, a punch tool. a punch tool that fits there, and what you want to do is put it on here, and gently with a mallet, not a sledgehammer. You could do it with a sledgehammer, I won't stop you, but is punch them out and leave the punch tool in there, so you can manipulate this to get the bottom one or the top one out, whichever one you start with. So once you loosen the bottom one, the top one will become frozen in place, but then the bottom one is loosey-goosey. So I forget which side or which one you want to do first. You can technically do it in any order, it's not that big of a deal. So sorry for the flickering of the LED light there, but yeah, that's our update. So now pull those out, obviously, break this part free. I think they call it the knuckle from there. You just put a little pry bar in there and just, if you have any trouble, use some penetrating lube if you want to, and then pray to God this spring doesn't blow up in your face. So I haven't had one yet, but I've heard some horror stories. So, and the coyotes have died down, so that's either a good thing or a bad thing. So just letting you know. Alrighty, and we'll get back to it. Well, 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 if it isn't the man, the myth, the legend himself.
What up, man?
What's going on?
What are you doing?
Alright, got the bolts out. I've got 2 pieces in there just to hold it. So, this one here is the top bolt. That's what it's supposed to look like. And this bottom bolt, I'm not really sure. I've never quite seen a bolt like that. So hopefully the mounting hardware in there is good. Otherwise, I will grab a spare bolt for one of my other strut replacements. So I just figured you might get a kick out of looking at it. So now let's see if I can do this one-handed. This thing should relatively be free. So you take these out, then you just provide it. Oh, this might be dangerous. Oh yeah, that's kind of dangerous. Okay, so if you're worried about struts blowing up in your face, first off, lube it up real good. Now what should happen is you should be able to pull this free for the most part, and then the strut should sag a little bit. So we'll go from there. Not a big deal. So I can't film it because I gotta use both hands and I can't find my stand for my video player. So if you hear me scream or I record and then I go, well, that was a bad idea, you'll know. Alright. Actually, while I'm here, these size, so the trick is to get a punch tool that is just long enough to do the job, but just short enough to also be able to get your mallet in there. So now, of course, you don't have to have a mallet this big, but whatever works, works. So it's just a matter of getting it done. So, but one of them is just to hold it so you can get the other one out. So, oh yeah, that thing's in there good. Let's see if I got a pry bar in here. I should have a pry bar in here. I can see it. I know I seen it. Oh, it's right in front of my face. So, oh my goodness. Well, maybe I will do it on camera. Jesus, man. There you go. It's free. So, now if you're real serious about it, you could mark it with paint if you want to try and get the alignment back the way you can. Some people have alignment training. Other times, I mean, for me personally, I wing it and then take it to a shop to get aligned. That's just what I do. Sometimes I don't even do that. My white car, I haven't had that aligned. I've been running on new struts for 2 years now, so in the front. So that's that. All right, I will get this strut removed. So now there's 3 bolts in the top in the trunk. I guess I'll try and show that. Ooh, that will work on now. There's the Shitbox Edition emblem for $10 on eBay for a 2-pack. That was a good deal. Okay, so now up here you can remove your cloth, and right back there, if you can see it, so there's 1 bolt there, 1 bolt there, and there's 1 behind it. I remove those caps. They don't really do much for me, but you can put them back on if you want to. So we will go from there. I think those are, they're either 15s or 14s. Let me check real quick. My cigar is getting tiny. I brought a big cigar. I'm only halfway done with this job. 14. Let's try a 14. I swear it's a 15. Where's my 15? Here it is. I swear these are 15. And these ones are a pain to do, but you kind of got to lean in there and do it, but you don't want to rock it too much, so we'll start with a 14. If you can see it. I should get that other light in here. Of course, you got all this jank wiring in the way. So, sometimes they'll differ. So, it's just a matter of... Yep, those are 15s. Alright, I'm sorry for the shaky camera here. I'm trying to see it and put a wrench on it. So, if you can't see it, I'm sorry. And these are 15s. Oh, come on, tool. Cooperate with me. Yep, 15s. And these ones, I think, are like 20 or 40 foot-pounds. Somewhere in between there. So, 3 of them per side. The front ones are actually pretty easy. It's just 3 bolts on the top, and then the 2 big bolts, and bada bing, bada boom, you're done. So, I will get back to you when I have the strut out, or at least unbolted from the top there, and we'll go from there. Alright. I'm glad it's not windy tonight, but it is like -2 out. Whew. Alright, I've gotten one of the 3 bolts off, and I wanted to make a mention here. First off, that the oh, come on now, the bolt right there, you see the second one, the one that's not covered up, that one I always save for last. It also has a hole. There's a hole in this fabric that slips on over it, so that way it holds it up to the side. So I do this one first, and then the back one, and then I do that one. That way it lowers it so I can see it. I'm not trying to fight the weight of this strut while trying to do the back one. So that's just a pro tip there. So, oh yeah, we are good to go. And if you're wondering why I always start with a caliper, that's just a frame of reference for me, because these are all cut up bits, but I'll try and focus as much as I can on this, and this is basically just my starting point. So, okay, as you can see, I've got all the bolts off, and I'll show you here, but now you can see, relative to the car, that's leaning down. It's at kind of an angle that way, and it hasn't exploded yet. So, and I just want to preface this with, I am not a professional, and you should be very, very careful when handling old struts. You should be with new struts too, but particularly old struts that are probably OEM and rusty. So look for any cracks in your thing, any cracks here, and then of course any cracks up top, which you can't really see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try my best to get this out safely, and what I'll do is I'll press down on this here, see, and it'll remove itself from there. So, alright, this is the final part here. As you can see, a lot has happened. It is currently 3:41 in the morning, and I decided to wrap it up. Basically, you didn't miss much. Basically, it was just a reverse of what I did. But pro tip, put this end first, up in here. Don't diddle with that part. You'll have a hell of a time getting it lined up. But once that part's there, use your 2. Let me see if I can get some more light on this. There we go. Use your 2. Oh, I just remembered. What was the name of those? Come on, come on. Not through bolts, but the oh, for leverage. Anyway, leverage your thing after that's tightened up, and then you can move it into space or into the right position. I would recommend a second jack to kind of go underneath the knuckle and kind of help align. You can get the bottom one just fine, but getting the top one, you got to kind of lift it up from the bottom, and it'll go like this. It'll straighten out. So as you can see, there's quite the gap difference. So what I went with was Gabriel struts from Rock Auto. I'm by no means sponsored, but yeah, and they hold up pretty good. Before, you had about this much space. Now we got that much space. So I'm hoping this works out pretty good. There's a little bit of grinding back here, And to be honest, I'm not going to tear it back apart. It's just going to have to fix itself. So that is the driver side rear strut tower. Well, not strut tower, strut assembly. And although the front struts are interchangeable, the rear struts are not. So, well, I say not interchangeable. You just have to change the lugs there, or the studs around. These ones, you can put them in either position. So, but if you're ordering, order one for the rear left and for the rear right. That is all. Have a wonderful Sunday morning, everybody. Signing off.